And it is live. We are live here at the Who Dat Temple, sponsored by Chef Hardy
And Budweiser.
and Budweiser. That's right.
Which this is not.
And also sponsored by an empty can of Shoulder Sack.
I already had to watch you drink that last year when I was in New Orleans. Why do I have to watch you drink it again?
I don't have. It's empty. All right. Anyway, so no, Lance and I called earlier. We were talking about what ifs. Here, we're doing more what ifs, Lance.
Okay.
So, I have the whole bunch of lists from HWR that I still haven't done yet. But, it's an idea, just to keep this fresh in my mind, to do more what ifs. So, we will go to a good fun one. Also, Lance and Mike can also put in their input for each of it. Speaking of which, Lance, how you doing today?
All right.
Mike, how you doing?
After working 8 days in a row after WrestleMania, I feel
Do you really feel good, Mike?
yep. But one day off after 8 days, and then I go back tomorrow.
Oh. Back to work you go. But I have an inconsistent schedule. Alright, here's a fun one. You know how Paul Heyman, he became the producer / owner of ECW? What if he never left WCW and went to ECW? Let's start off with Lance.
Well, there would have never been the hardcore craze, as it were, because the first there might have been, but because they were doing it over in Japan, which they got that from over in FMW, they got it from actually USWA here in Memphis, but like CZW wouldn't have happened. The hardcore division in WWE wouldn't have happened. So the face of wrestling would have changed immensely.
Mike?
It's hard for me to talk about it a little bit because I don't really follow WCW, and well, I mean, I followed WCW a little bit, but I didn't follow really ECW much. It's kind of hard for me to get my input, but I mean, with no ECW, man, without Paul Heyman, WCW, I don't feel whatever the hell the name of the company is, whichever
ECW.
one, that one, ECW probably wouldn't have gotten as big as it was, popular as it was amongst fans, and we likely wouldn't have the likes of Rob Van Dam and Tommy Dreamer and those other guys on the WWE ever having been on the WWE roster and exposed to the casual fans.
My input on it is that, Lance is right. Basically, it's like, without Paul Heyman, that craze, that hardcore craze wouldn't have happened. It got popular when ECW started, but as Lance said, it kind of contributed to what WWE Hardcore Division was all about, how extreme, WWE went, and whatnot. And then you had the talents like the Dudleys, RVD, Taz, Sabu, like, those guys who, revolutionized ECW. You wouldn't have all of them being the popular as they are or were at the time. So, Okay, let's see. That's a good question. What if WrestleMania 1 flopped? Start off with Mike.
Oh, what was that again?
What if WrestleMania 1 flopped?
Oh man. WrestleMania 1 flopped? I'm sure Lance will give a better description of what I'm about to say here in a second, but WWE would have been fucked. Like, you wouldn't have had a WrestleMania 2. We wouldn't have probably wouldn't have a John Cena. We wouldn't have, you know, just anything we have today. Without WrestleMania, our parents probably wouldn't be wrestling fans, so therefore we wouldn't have been wrestling fans. I I don't know. Lance, you finish this off because I'm sure you'll give a better description than I will.
Well, WWE would have been dead. It is a well-known fact. During WrestleMania, it didn't even have a number then. It was just WrestleMania. Vince put everything the company had towards this one show. So, this thing flopped. RIP WWFE at the time, whatever. The face of wrestling today as we know it, 1,000% different. Do I know what it would have been now? No, I don't. Just completely different than what it is today.
I kind of have to agree with y'all. The fact is that WWE put a lot onto it, like Lance said, that it gambled everything and everything for that show. I mean, yeah, we had the Rock and Roll, connection, Rock and Wrestling, or whatever that thing was. Somebody remind me of.
Rock and Wrestle Connection.
Huh.
Think of Lance. But without that, and without that connection, it would you have Mr. T and all that stuff. Without the celebrities, and if it flopped, then yeah, you're right. WWE would have not survived a few years. I would have given them, they would survive at least that year, but have survived a few years, and then it wouldn't evolve to what we know it now to be. So, Lance, would you have another what if?
What if WCW would have won?
Who do you want to start first?
Let's go with you since you're already on. Since you won't have to unmute your mic.
Okay. Man, that's an interesting scenario. That's a good question. Is that what if WWE survived? It kind of goes back to what we've been saying a lot with it, is that the WWE you wouldn't have seen a John Cena, you wouldn't have seen Stone Cold Steve Austin, Rock, and all that stuff being in the Hall of Fame. You wouldn't have all these, you would just see WCW and all that stuff. And I don't know, how long would have WCW survived if they would have won? That's also the question would be. Because really, it's also, you have to think about it, is that, remember in 2001, that Time Warner AOL merger did all that stuff, kind of said, you know what, let's screw WCW over. So would that have been different if WCW won? You would still have Sting, you would have NWO still going on, maybe for so many odd years, but with a different with different people leading it now. Who would have ran it? Jeff Jarrett. There wouldn't have been a TNA. Jeff Jarrett wouldn't have gone created his own company. And there wouldn't be no Dixie Carter, which would have been a good thing.
Oh God, yes.
Mike, go on to you.
Well, I'm gonna put it to you like this, man. WCW wins, WCW still dies because WCW was going down regardless, and the only way they would have won the Monday Night Wars is if WWE would have going down the shitter faster. Clearly, they weren't. They started picking up steam and just rolling right over WCW after a while. Thank you, Nitro, spoiling Mankind's title win.
Have a nice day.
But I think eventually they would have gone down because when you look at the last few years of Nitro and WCW, it just storylines weren't that good. They really weren't. They definitely did drag the NWO out way too long. But I just feel like they would have been. Okay, let's put it like this. So 2001, 2003, 2004 at the latest, WCW would have still eventually died out. They would have. There's just no question about it.
Lance?
Well, see, I think if Vince would have not scooped WCW up, and if they would have won too, Bischoff was Bischoff was planning on buying the company from Turner, but Vince just scooped it up out from under him. We don't know what Bischoff was going to do with the company under his 100% control. So it could have survived more, and he could have got rid of the crap.
Do you have another one?
That's true. Vance does make a good point there. I mean, but at the same time, I still don't think WCW would have lasted that long. I just don't. Especially fucking, even if Bischoff could have bought it, you still fucking had David Arquette as your fucking world champion, which is the dumbest motherfucking mistake you could have ever done. But wait, we can top it. Enter Vince Russo.
Really, I agree with Mike, but you also have to fear the fact that, Lance, you have a point, Lance, but that the fact is that what network would pick up WCW if Bischoff would have bought it? Turner basically just said that they didn't want to do no more wrestling.
Man, one second. This is also saying if WWE would have lost and pretty much died. So I think Spike USA or something like that, who was and still is interested in wrestling, I think WCW would have went from TNT to
TNN at that time.
To TNN, USA, whatever.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I don't think wrestling would be as popular as it is still today if WCW would have won. I think we all wouldn't have met. None of us would have met.
Do you have another one, Lance?
What if Chris Benoit didn't do it?
Oh my God.
Start with Mike.
Oh man, you don't know how much thought I've put into that subject before. Oh man. Okay. So wait, what do you mean by didn't do it? You mean he's still dead, or he didn't do it and they were all still alive? You gotta be specific. Or so they all died, but they found him innocent, and someone else
exactly.
Did kill him? Okay, so he's still dead.
Or you can go both ways.
Or you can go both ways.
That's what she said.
Oh my God.
I've heard that a lot.
I bet. Anyways, okay, so yeah, let's talk about both ends of the stick. Damn it!
That's what she said.
Anyways, Fat Boy's like, get on with it! Just show it, Lance.
That's what she said.
Anyways, damn it. Wait, what was the subject? Oh yeah. So, let's start off with the murder. They were all alive. Nothing was wrong. Side of the spectrum. Chris Benoit would have won the ECW title. I can't be positive he'd still be wrestling today. I would like to say he would be because we all know Chris Benoit. He was just that fucking intense. Just him retiring willingly is laughable. But oh my god, could you imagine Chris Benoit versus Daniel Bryan? Chris Benoit versus Dolph Ziggler. Oh, I mean, Benoit died after, Dolph Ziggler was technically around. Nikki! But, and Kerwin White and whatever the hell else he was, but still. I don't think Benoit would still be around today. I think he would have retired by now. Not necessarily by his own choice, but if all of those murders hadn't happened, the rate he was going, he probably would have had some type of health issues at some point anyways. You just, as evidenced by his brain, he eventually would have, something would have happened. He would have retired, or he would have had some kind of health scare or whatever. But now going to the other side of the spectrum, they're all dead. The murders didn't happen except for he's not the one that did it. You'd be in the Hall of Fame right now. He would have been in the Hall of Fame the very next year. Just like Eddie Guerrero, he would have been in the Hall of Fame the very next year. You would have heard everyone singing his praises, and we wouldn't still be talking about him to this day. Because once someone gets their Hall of Fame spot, kind of stop talking about him when you really think about it. I mean, now that Macho Man's in the Hall of Fame, we're probably not gonna complain about him all that much now. But that's a different subject. But he'd be in the Hall of Fame. Maybe people, still, come up with conspiracy theories probably. But I mean, that's all I got. You guys go ahead.
I go next. This one is very interesting. If he would have, I'm gonna go with what Mike said for both of them. It's like, if he was still been alive today, he would have retired. I would say maybe around 2010, 2011, and maybe he might have one match with Daniel Bryan before he would retire. But I feel like WWE's coach got to tell him to retire, or some health issue might happen. It's like, well, Edge, they find something like, oh, you have to retire, you can't compete anymore. And basically, if he wasn't committed, if he was found dead, but he wasn't the one who did it, then yeah, we would have talked about the Hall of Fame. We would have not be like, oh, the guy who must not be named in WWE. They still be talking about him for references like, oh, Randy Orton, our youngest champion, beat Chris Benoit to win the title.
Another thing, we wouldn't have those warnings in front of every WWE network thing that includes Chris Benoit.
True. I think you might still maybe have for one or two people, but anyway, moving on, Lance.
Well, if he still wouldn't have been alive, I kind of think he, as intense as he was, like his veins were popping out of his neck, he might have had a heart attack in the ring or something by now. Because if he, big jacked up fucker, and that's how he probably would have went out. is there a chance he could still been wrestling today? Maybe a 1% chance because he was still in phenomenal shape when it happened. So who knows? He would have been what, 450 maybe. But whether he did any found innocent, which my personal beliefs have nothing to do with this, but you definitely first ballot Hall of Famer.
All right. Hey, do you have any what ifs?
I didn't really get the chance to think of it because you sprung this on me last minute. But I'll go with another, person that died. What if Eddie Guerrero hadn't died when he did?
Man started.
He definitely would have been. How old was he when he went again?
He was like 39, wasn't he? I think he was 39. I'll do a double check.
That's hard to say when he would have went out.
I mean, he would have still wrestled for a while, but
I'd say he probably might would have, should have maybe retired last year, maybe.
He was 38 when he died.
So he probably, I mean, they would have sort of winded him down or something 2 years after when he passed, but he probably could have wrestled a good, probably this year or last year would have been his last year, maybe. But
I mean, that's another match I think about. Eddie Guerrero versus Daniel Bryan. Oh my God.
yeah, and then again, if we would not have lost Eddie, we would not have had Vicky. That's a tragedy in and of itself that we had to suffer through the Vicky Guerrero years.
Gosh.
The Vicky and Edge and Big Show love triangle.
Things that make you go, buh.
Anyway, I go next. If Eddie Guerrero passed, I would say he would have won a couple more world titles. He would have had a couple more title reigns with the world.
Interesting note is that the rumor was he was actually scheduled to win the world title like the week after he died. It was actually like rumored to be winning the title, like because he was supposed to be in that SmackDown versus Raw Survivor Series match, and the rumor was he was actually supposed to win the title from Batista like the week before that or some shit.
I heard he was supposed to win that day. He passed because it was actually.
No, it wasn't gonna be that day because he died on a Sunday.
But I thought there was a taping that Sunday actually.
No, Raw was the next day. Raw was the next night, but.
Okay, it was that week actually. Okay. But no. But so basically, it was that he would have had a couple world title reigns. Same thing with Benoit. If he didn't, he did. He would have had a couple world title reigns, not just the ECW. I think he would have maybe retired of 2012, maybe? I would say 2012. I don't think he would have gone all the way to the last year if he was still been alive. I think what also would have happened, I think he would try to see if he, WWE might have him help out like the younger stars that was down in development, so he could have been. And also, wasn't it Eddie Guerrero? His death led to the wellness policy being created.
Him and Benoit.
Benoit more so, but I mean Eddie, yeah, but Benoit is when they really cracked down.
Yeah, Eddie was more the drug side of the wellness policy. Benoit was more the juice side of the policy.
One thing, and now this is off topic, but the one thing that still gets me is I go back and watch those old videos all the time where different media outlets had different wrestlers on talking about Benoit and steroids. And I remember Kevin Nash was on one, and they're like, talk about roid rage and whatnot. And they're like, have you ever done steroids? And he's like, yeah. And then they're like, so, and he's like, but I've never had roid rage. I've never gone out of my fucking mind and started, going crazy. And they're like, okay, now sir, now we know you're lying because if you took steroids, you've had roid rage. Off topic.
No, let's not go that way. Mike?
Then next time you ask me ahead of time to think of some, dude. Okay. What if Hogan never jumped ship to WCW? There, that's something.
That's actually a good one that nobody never thought of. Because I think really it's that Hogan never jumped ship. Basically, he left WWE, he did his movie stuff, and he jumped to WCW right when he was filming the movies, when they offered him the money. I felt like there wasn't, if WCW didn't sign Hogan, then I don't think WCW would have been as big as it is, because really, Hogan jumping shift, and you had like Macho Man jump shift, and Kevin Nash, Scott Hall. You wouldn't have the NWO. You wouldn't, Sting would have been the big guy down there, but I don't think he would have been like WCW wouldn't have been that big as it was to a threat to WWE, like when it was with the Monday Night Wars. And if Hogan was still loyal to WWE, we would have brother, uncle, cousin, nephew, niece for like many years in WWE. So, and you won't have like people like Shawn Michaels, Bret Hart, Kevin Nash, all them like the new generation try to lift up WWE like how it was. And
yeah, there would have been no Monday Night Wars, so, and then. Yeah, Hogan probably would have been the face of the WWE up until he couldn't go anymore. Because we all know Vince likes sticking with his boys.
Boy.
Yeah. It's pretty much simple. No Monday Night War, no NWO, nothing to feud against. Which likely ends up meaning no DX either. So, man, I mean, a lot of stars WCW had, man. Oh, man, would have never been stars. Wow.
Alright, we gotta do one more around the whole area. Each of us gotta ask one more question. Mine's a two-parter, unfortunately. Just because you know how I am, Divas guy. What if Stratus joined WWE? I asked the second part because it comes first to today. So, but we start off with that. We go with.
Okay, so what was it again?
What if Trish never joined WWE? Trish and Lita, basically. What do you see the Divas division going to?
See, that's difficult because there was still a semi-relevant Divas division back then when they came in anyways. But, I mean, I don't know because when they both, at least Trish, when Trish first started, she was terrible. She was god-awful. I mean, I would have rather watched Eva Marie wrestle today than Trish when she first started.
It's his face.
But but seriously though, I mean, if Lita never came into WWE especially, and I think this is why I think I see your part two going. We all seen that video with the young AJ Lee, meeting, Lita back in the day. And that's one of her many inspirations for wrestling. We probably would have never had AJ Lee. That's for sure. Other divas, that's questionable because they're all models. So a lot of them are models, so we could have ended up with them anyways.
Let me clarify it more. It's like, if Trish and Lita never joined, who would you see as the face of the Divas division in that time?
Man, dude, that's difficult for me to say because I was still sticking with WCW towards death almost, but I don't know. You're gonna have to go to Lance on that one.
Lance?
How I see the Divas division would be today, probably the same as it is. A couple of chicks that can wrestle, the other ones that can't wrestle for shit. And people, woman I could see being the face of the quote Attitude Era Women's division. I'd go with Stacy Keibler.
Well, I would say this. I wouldn't say Stacy Keibler because she was at WCW. But at that time, Lita was more the face at that beginning part. Then Trish became better because Mike's right. Trish was horrible. Unless she was wearing a bra and panties match. Anyway, moving on.
We know what he does at night.
Anyway, but
YouTube.com.
anyway, moving on. I always wondered, why did Sable leave WWE? That's the main question. I mean, yeah, China. You had China, being that up there before she left, and then all of a sudden Trish and Lita took over. I wouldn't say Stacy Keibler, though. I would say someone like maybe Ollie. No, Ivory. Actually, Ivory would have been someone would have led that division. But so the second part going to it is like, as Mike mentioned, AJ Lee. How I think Cena was saying the character in that podcast last night. What if AJ Lee never got that crazy chick character that got her over? Who would have been that division or the leader of the division today if it wasn't AJ?
Caitlyn. I think Caitlyn would probably still be around.
Lance?
I don't know. Natty, maybe?
Let's look at this. When AJ Lee, became popular in 2012, you still had Kelly. You had Eve, Beth Phoenix, Natalya. Naomi wasn't part of it. I remember from. They had the Bellas, both Bellas, Layla. Layla just came back from an injury, and Tamina. Also Alicia Fox, who we still don't know if it's a face or a heel.
The question is, does anybody care if she's a face or a heel?
I think I don't think. Yeah, that's a good question, Lance. Does it care? Because really, it's like
Who gives a shit about Alicia Fox?
Oh, that's true. But let's say this: AJ Lee did stuff her way, like a lot of people said. She did it differently, but without that crazy chick character and how got her the support from everybody, she would have been a jobber. She would have been out the same year as Caitlyn, because I think Caitlyn would have been out too.
Yeah.
Still at the still going out at the same time. They would have given her at least one push like how she did, but I don't think that. I think AJ would have been the same way. She would have been out immediately. I think she would have like maybe some. I don't even think she would have been married Punk. But anything else y'all want to say? That part.
Oh, not one, but
Right, Lance.
What if Brock Lesnar wouldn't have re-signed with the WWE right before WrestleMania?
ooh. I think same situation still plays out. Except for maybe Lesnar gets pinned instead. I think the same situation still plays out. Because they clearly didn't have Roman win for a reason. They didn't have Roman win for a reason. So I think the same situation still plays out. Maybe in a slightly different form, but it still plays out.
I'd say it's maybe the same situation, but at the same time, I feel like Reigns was going to win. I think Reigns was originally the plan to win, but they decided, oh no, let's give it to Seth Rollins because there's this fact that the reason is that the fans is not behind them, and if you don't have the fans behind you, you're not going to be star. You should not hold the World Heavyweight title. And the fact is, the reason is that, people boo Seth Rollins, but, they connect to him. He has something that he connects to the fans. They hate him, his character. While Roman Reigns is this big Samoan guy, powerful Shield member, whatnot, cousin to The Rock, but what character does he have? Lance?
Something about Brock says if he wouldn't have, he might have just gave a big middle finger to the WWE and took the belt. Because honestly, as big as Brock Lesnar is, who could have legitimately stopped him?
Mike, that's your last question.
Oh, my last question. What if? Just because I want to see your comments, because I think it's going to be funny. What if John Cena had won against RVD in the Hammerstein Ballroom?
Oh, if RVD would have lost at ECW One Night Stand 2006, we would have a riot and Cena would have been dead. Because he was not getting out that arena alive if he would have won. They would have had the SWAT, they would have had the FBI, the CIA.
You can literally see Lance getting excited to answer this question.
He was not getting out alive if he would have won. Lance?
The following Monday on Raw, we would have literally seen, ladies and gentlemen, we are gathered here today to mourn the loss of the life of John Cena. Because that Philly crowd would have literally murdered him.
It's not Philly, it's New York.
Whatever, and it's a hardcore ECW crowd. They would have killed that sumbitch.
Oh, you're damn right. I mean, he wouldn't have had no way of getting out of that ring. 'Cause the minute that happens, he goes to slide off the ring. Those people are gonna hop over that rail in the middle of the pathway. Locking his ass. You would have seen beer bottles, toilet paper, cups.
New Jack Cobra came out stabbing him a few times.
Yeah, right? Everything would have been thrown into that fucking ring that you could have imagined possible. I mean, they already throwed his shirt back 13 times earlier in the night. Oh my god, they would have had to cut the feed because that would have been a live murder. And then that city would have been blacklisted, or that arena, I should say, would have been blacklisted. And those fans would have been blacklisted. Would have had a couple thousand fans going to jail, all for the murder of one man. RVT probably would have died in like a fucking crossfire. The referee would have died too. Was it Nick Patrick?
Nick Patrick came out when the ECW referee got knocked out.
Okay, well, you get the point.
Yeah.
Oh man, that was so much fun to see.
Anyway, alright, that's just it for What If. I don't know. We might do a part 2. I don't know. I feel just that. I don't know when. But we might do one. So we gotta say bye bye, and we gotta say, Lance, where do we find you, and what do you do?
You can find me on Twitter at LanceMossTV or at YouTube.com/LanceMossTV. I got album reviews, NASCAR discussion videos, redneck home cooking videos, musical equipment reviews, some rants, and the archives of controversy and scandals. So check me out and subscribe.
Look at that, Mike. What do you do, Mike, and where can we find you?
Twitter at Mike of Iowa, YouTube at whatever the hell my username is, because I don't even know what to tell you anymore because they keep way YouTube changes. I can't even tell you what my YouTube address is. Just Fatboy will drop a link in the description later.
Some magical pop-up animation.
Yeah, oh yeah, right here, ladies and gentlemen, right here. Bing! Anyways, I started doing reaction videos. That's my new thing. I tried reviews, didn't work. Tried gaming videos, didn't work. Reaction videos seem to be my thing. So that's what I'm gonna start doing. So check that out. And my next review is gonna be some thing I just found, and I don't know. It'll be up later tonight.
I found one you can do a reaction video of. Hey Lance, remember the one Andy showed us earlier?
I was doing the same thing.
Say the same thing. Anyway, you can find me at Twitter at FatBoy504. That's the thing is right there. Find me at twitch.tv/FatBoy504. I do some PS4 gameplay. I do whatever gameplay I have. I might get some more games. I don't know. And you can find me on this channel, which is youtube.com/JTD70129. Until then, yeah, we got here today for the loss of the career of AJ Lee.
Leave the memories alone. I want to change the way it is, the way it used to be.
Lance, what you got to say to that?
Why?
Fatboy be like, why couldn't we see AJ versus Paige in a mud wrestling bra and panties match?
It's PG. We can't say that. We can't see that. It's PG.
So, you still wanted it.
It's PG. We can't do that anymore. Especially after Medusa took it out of the trash. Like, why do we have this shit? Anyway, see ya. Peace.